Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So Semtebale, that has gone from bad to worse, mostly for Harry. For those of you that are not aware, I'm going to give you the quick lowdown of what happened. If you are new to the drama, last week Harry went to the media, to the Times newspaper on the Tuesday, and he made an unofficial statement that he and Prince Sisu of Lesotho were stepping down, and they were both devastated and in shock that they had to do such a thing in solidarity of the trustees. Everybody has apparently fallen out with the Chair of Semtebale, Dr. Sophie Chandauka. What transpired, the princes said, was unthinkable. So they briefed the media, right? Harry briefed the media and threw the first stones, as it were. Dr. Sophie didn't even know that this was coming. They decided to make this argument become public news and obviously threw her under a bus. There can be no denying that these recent bursts of stories coming from Harry's camp and friends and people that have worked with Harry are to vilify Sophie whilst simultaneously making himself out to look like an innocent, heartbroken choir boy. So the first person that came out after Harry's joint statement with Prince Sisu and the trustees was Dr. Kelly Lerotoli, who said that he never saw any such behaviour in board meetings, that they decided to remove Dr. Chandauka when her fundraising fell flat and there were concerns about the future of Semtebale. She reportedly then dug her heels in and sought a legal challenge to block the process, of which was granted. The trustees then decided to resign as they didn't want to fight in court and put a financial strain on the charity. But surely if they had proof that Dr. Chandauka was misspending funds, is one of the accusations, that she wasn't doing fundraising, that the organisation was falling under her direction, surely if they had any evidence of such, they would have quite easily fought back with the court saying, look, she can't stay as the chair of Semtebale because she's actively damaging it. They didn't. They all resigned because they didn't want to fight it out. Does no one else find that highly suspicious? This is one woman who is up against the patrons, two royal-blooded princes, a whole board of trustees, and yet the court decided to rule in Dr. Sophie Chandauka's favour and allow her to remain as the chairwoman. So obviously she had enough evidence to back up what she was saying, is the way that I'm reading it. So then People magazine, as we know, it's a favoured outlet to use for Harry and Meghan when they want to fight back and correct the narrative. Well, this person, an unnamed source who was familiar with the situation at Semtebale, said that Dr. Sophie put the charity under financial strain. It was stable financially before she joined the company as chairwoman in 2023, but it changed under her leadership. She reportedly lost them a major account who funded the Semtebale Polo Cup, which is the company's flagship fundraising event. She also apparently blew through 600,000, 400,000, depending on which publication you read it in, without board approval. She spent it on consultants and new fundraising strategies that failed to come together. Then we had Baroness Chalker. She was someone who left the organisation last year. She came forward to say she left because she wasn't happy with the direction in which Dr. Chandauka was taking the organisation, and said it was sad that Harry quit, but not surprised as the chairwoman was almost dictatorial. And it really does beg the question of why did the trustees and the board, having worked with Sophie for many, many years, why did they all want her to become the chairwoman if she's this awful human being that was a dictator that has tried to destroy Semtebale from its very core? They were happy when she worked for them between 2008 and 2014 before she was elected the chairwoman in 2023. They were singing her praises when she took the position. Sophie Chandauka was doing so well at her job that Harry and Mark Dyer offered her compensation, financial compensation, due to the volume of work that she was doing. But she chose to continue without pay and made it clear that she does have substantial documents and correspondence to back this up between herself, Mark Dyer, and Harry. But now she's being vilified as this awful woman. Well, surely you had worked with her for a number of years and she wasn't like that before. Are they implying that the power simply went to her head? And how is it as chairwoman, when you've got a board of trustees, did she make these decisions without telling any of them? Is that what they're saying? That this one woman went completely rogue, had access to all of the bank accounts, all of the banking, she could pay for as many consultants as she wanted without anybody saying, hey, this might actually be a problem? Now, the Baroness wasn't the only former Semtebale employee to come forward. A former trustee, and I have to say here, a former white trustee, compared Dr. Sophie Chandauka's leadership to the UDI, who were the white minority leaders who declared independence illegally in Rhodesia in the 1960s. Again, very offensive things to compare Dr. Sophie to, being a Zimbabwean black woman. Neither of those two comments do many favours in regards to defending the accusations that Dr. Sophie has levelled at them, including racism and misogynoir. Now, naturally, Dr. Sophie, when she started reading all of these attacks that were coming out, all of these sources, she was very upset and she had every right to defend herself. In her Financial Times interview, she said that the organisation will live on without Harry and the trustees, a sentiment that was also echoed by Semtebale's interim director, Carmel Gaylard. She said that the number one risk to the organisation is the toxicity of the lead patron's brand. Well, of course, no one can deny that. She said there had been a massive dip in donations, families that supported Semtebale, long-term donors that started dropping away when Harry left the UK, more predominantly after Harry started attacking the royal family. She said that when she had pushed for more locally led initiatives in Lesotho and Botswana, this caused friction with the UK-based staff. She said the board felt threatened that the Africans were taking over. She said that she'd experienced disrespect, bullying, misogyny, misogynoir. Trustees had tried to oust her after she expressed her concerns about the charity's governance, management, admin and finances, and she filed her own lawsuit on the 5th of March. Dr. Sophie could have gone to the media first with all of this kicking off. She is not the one that went to the media and made this public. Harry and the trustees did by using the Times newspaper to launch the first attack. It's clearly obvious that they decided that they wanted to make out Dr. Sophie Chandauka the villain before the story broke. So on Sunday, the 30th of March, after all the various attacks through various outlets and people, Dr. Chandauka made an appearance on Sky News and she spoke very highly of Semtebale and she gave her side of the story. Newsreader Trevor Phillips threw lots of these allegations of what they're accusing her of at her and she batted them back one by one. She actually gave Harry high praise on several occasions, as well as, more importantly, Semtebale as an organisation, which she says is her absolute priority. She addressed the fact that she was on the board for 5 to 6 years before coming chairwoman in 2023, that she looked at over 7 years' financials of large corporate sponsors, families that gave large donations and individuals who donated to Semtebale, and she saw a massive decline in donations because of the actions of Harry and, of course, his wife. Ian Rawlinson, a trustee and consultant to Semtebale, was by her side throughout the interview on Sky, and he was backing up everything that she was saying. Now, this has taken a twist because there are lots of people now trying to push the narrative that he is a plant by the royal family, or more importantly, Prince William, that Dr. Sophie has deliberately been working with Prince William behind the scenes scenes. The reason why they say that Mr. Rawlinson is actually a plant is because he is a long-term ally of Prince William who worked with the Tusk Trust since 2002 in various roles. The reason why Mr. Rawlinson has been put into the position of the trustee is no different to why they all elected Dr. Sophie Chandauka to be the chairwoman, and that is simply because they have experience and they are good at their jobs. Whereas Harry, according to Dr. Sophie, could just walk into a boardroom and say, I'm appointing someone new to the charity. She said that the other trustees, and obviously long-term friends of Harry's, any decision that Harry made would automatically be agreed by them. So she was shown no respect in her position. She wasn't asked. She was basically told. Nobody stood up to Harry. What he said just went. She addressed the fact that she was called dictatorial, and she simply said that some board members had been there for so long that they simply did not want change, that they were entrenched. She said turkeys don't vote for Christmas. So in so many words, you need to change the people that are making the decisions in a company after a certain amount of time, because otherwise they are not necessarily putting forward the best decisions for the organisation, or rather they're putting through the best decisions for perhaps themselves. So Trevor Phillips asks Dr. Sophie, so where did it all start to go wrong? Was there, a moment in time? And she said this. This was when it all soured and it started turning really nasty. She explained that her family were going to lend Semtebale, well not lend, but they were going to offer their polo fields to hold this big charity fundraising match at a generous discount. They were doing it because it was for the charity. But Harry, he said that he wanted to bring along the Netflix cameras. So then the family that had agreed to give them this generous discount said, hang on a minute, you're now turning it into a commercial undertaking. So the family said to Semtebale, well, we're not going to give you a discount because obviously you're making money out of this. We were doing this out of generosity. So they lost it. So then they had a mad scramble to try and get another polo field just in enough time. But she did say it was through Harry's connections that enabled them to do so. But of course, with a month to go, that didn't look good on the organisation. So she goes on to explain that Meghan had originally said that she wasn't going to the polo match, but obviously it all changed because it went to these other polo fields and the Netflix crew were going to be there. So Meghan got dressed up and decided to come along last minute with Serena. Now this caused a problem because they weren't expecting her. No other wives or girlfriends of the polo players go up on the stage. No other wives or girlfriends elbow other people off of the stage or tell them where to stand. But Meghan did, and Harry yet again allowed it. This is no different to Meghan doing that really offensive bow on Netflix as Harry smirked. He allowed his wife to treat Dr. Sophie like that, and she had to duck under the trophy. This is the start of what was said there was friction of the day. Now, Revealing the Narc is someone who I follow on Twitter. She's also got a YouTube. She releases clips. She finds these clips and she breaks them down to show you the real reactions of Meghan. So it's rather than people just talking about Meghan's bad behaviour, you get to see her narcissism firsthand with your own eyes. Look at her deliberately elbow Dr. Sophie just a tap but enough, and to turn her body away to make sure it was just Harry, Nacho and her holding a trophy. That is complete body language of this is my moment yet again. And then when she got off of stage, she grabs Delphina and Delphina then clutches her hand and they do mean girl walk past Dr. Sophie, not even acknowledging her. Meghan made it very clear that she felt that she was the most important woman there and she did not want Dr. Sophie on that stage anywhere near the trophy. There is some very serious gaslighting going on. All of these sources that keep speaking out, they've even mentioned this day, the Miami polo match, and they said that it was from this day that Dr. Sophie started becoming a problem. But a Semtebale insider spoke to the Daily Mail and said it was actually Meghan who behaved rudely that day. She refused to meet with the Semtebale people that were there when Dr. Sophie wanted to take her round to meet everybody. Instead, she ignored her and walked off with Serena to the tent and the car, and instead asked the staff at the event to fetch them champagne. All of the photos that I have seen from that event seem to back that up. Meghan is not photographed with any of the Semtebale people that were there. If anyone that day upset potential sponsors, I'd imagine it was the pouting diva demanding constant attention. So then I bring you to Alex Rayner's statement. This guy has torpedoed himself. I say he's torpedoed himself because he works in public relations, right? And he said that he had been given full permission by Harry to brief the press. I mean, the irony is not lost on me at all here, to give his side of the story basically through his friend. And this is the clangers that he came out with. Harry is heartbroken and flabbergasted that the charity he founded as a teenager has been taken hostage by the chair. It feels tantamount to a hostile takeover. He's so upset, hurt and wounded about the things being said about him. He's in shock about the allegations being made. So it's all very much, as I said, Harry's being painted out, this poor, wounded, innocent little choir boy. I mean, I say he's having a taste of his own medicine. Just think these allegations being made against you of being racist and misogynistic and treating someone terribly. You'd think it might give Harry a moment of reflection of what he actually did to his family multiple times. But oh no. But the biggest clanger that Alex Rayner came out with, it feels like Dr. Chandauka had her nose put out of joint because she was not the most important woman of colour on stage. Firstly, given the fact that this was a Semtebale fundraising polo match, I have to say that Dr. Sophie, being the chairwoman of Semtebale, was the most important woman on that stage that should have been handing over the trophy, that should have had her photographs taken, not the wife of one of the other polo players. As I said, no other wives were up there behaving like Meghan did. But the fact that he brought their race into it, and he's made it out like this whole fallout is a petty argument between high school girls scrapping over the high school jock. It's the fact that he's implying that she's jealous of Meghan. And funnily enough, it's the same narrative that the Sussex squad are also trying to push, outside of the fact that the royal family have used her as a plant to destroy Semtebale to hurt Harry. They are also saying that Dr. Chandauka is secretly in love with Harry, and this is where it all stems from. But given the fact that Alex Rayner also turned around and said Harry has gone from being the great hope of the royal family to a pariah, whilst I agree with the last bit, Harry was the great hope of the royal family. That tells me everything I need to know about Mr. Rayner, and I can imagine anybody that thinks of using him to represent them in any sort of, I would say, PR crisis is going to be thinking twice. As I said, he's made a bad situation a lot worse. So of course, with that all going viral, the world's media picked it up. Harry did what Harry does, and we know that he does this. He demanded that Dr. Sophie Chandauka issues a statement, an official statement defending his wife. I mean, why should she have to defend his wife, who was quite clearly rude to her throughout that entire event? And this was the stuff we saw on camera. I dread to think what happened off camera as well. But she did refuse, and this then led to Harry sending her an imperious message demanding that she explain herself. And another member of staff at Semtebale has backed this up and said that they've seen it. And Trevor Phillips did say, you know, why didn't you defend her? And she said, well, the trolling would have been worse because it would have been obvious that I had been asked to do such a statement. And secondly, it would have turned Semtebale into an extension of the Sussex PR machine. That's what Harry and Meghan do, don't they? They've turned Invictus into an extension of the PR machine. They use charities to bolster their images, to uplift themselves, to give themselves positive PR. And she said, I'm not allowing Semtebale to be roped into that. Good for her, but of course, because she stood her ground, Harry did not like that and demanded she explain herself. Do I believe Dr. Sophie on that? Yes, absolutely, because we've seen Harry with this type of behaviour before. Harry demanded that Backgrid hand over all of their footage for their fake car chase around New York, to which they then responded and said, you might be a royal in the UK, but this is America, buddy. You are not going to have those sort of special privileges reserved for perhaps a king. And they said, no, you can't have it. And an email that was released showed Harry had demanded that arrests be made of the paparazzi immediately, or they had to give an official statement and explain themselves as to why they haven't arrested the paparazzi. This, by the way, this email was like a couple of days before Christmas, that Harry was being his usual entitled, arrogant, imperious self. After the Nigerian First Lady, she got some flack, didn't she? Because she gave a speech, I think the day after Meghan flew home from Nigeria, and she was talking about women being inappropriately dressed. People said that she slut-shamed Meghan. And in all honesty, I don't know if she was, and it was just basically taken out of context. But Meghan was dressed very inappropriately for a conservative country when one of the main religions is Muslim. I mean, one of the outfits that she wore to polo, she flashed her nipple. This was offensive, and you saw lots of women and men looking away from her throughout. She was dressed more inappropriately in Nigeria than what she was dressed in Colombia. And I can't help but feel that it was deliberate, to be honest with you. But we got a statement from the First Lady saying, oh no, that's not correct, I was not saying that. So they obviously heaped on pressure. So do I believe that Dr. Sophie received such a message from Harry? Yes, absolutely. It seems that polo was in fact the turning point, and she said it's when the bullying started. Not directly from Harry, but also the board. But given how she had said earlier in the interview that what Harry said went, all it took from that day is Meghan deciding that she doesn't want Dr. Sophie anywhere near Harry again. She then whispers in his ear, Harry wants Dr. Sophie out. He tells the trustees, I want them out, and they all sign up to it. And this is apparently when it all started taking a turn for the worst. In another damaging thing she said in the interview, she said that because she dug her heels in, because she refused to let them bully her out of her job, that Harry then started briefing potential sponsors, people that were potentially going to donate to Semtebale, to not work with her. They did this to make it look like that she couldn't do her job, so they could prove that there was an even further loss of donations under her management, and they had reasons to kick her out. So what she's saying is Harry and the trustees sacrificed Semtebale donations all in their quest to get her ejected from her job. She made it clear the only reason why she had gone to Sky News and was talking publicly about it was because she felt she had no choice, because Harry landed the first attack. She hadn't even been told that they were going to the media. They hadn't told the company director of Semtebale, and she said it was incredibly damaging to her. And it is a form of bullying and harassment what they did by doing that, not even telling her we're going to let the world media know and we're going to throw you under a bus. Sir Trevor Phillips, who conducted the Sky interview, stuck his neck out on the line for Dr. Sophie in the Sun newspaper and said, I can vouch for her integrity and her commitment can hardly be questioned. Her own family is Semtebale's third largest donor, and he also said that Harry brought her in to strengthen the governance of the organisation. But like many in his class, he may have forgotten that the rules of governing a charity apply to him as well. It's also worth noting that Prince Sisu has remained silent, as he has refused to publicly trash Sophie Chandauka or publicly support any of Harry's claims. People saying how upset Harry is. He feels like he's had his finger cut off to Semtebale. As I said, well, maybe it's time for a moment of reflection of what you did to your family, to everybody that was affected by the lies, by some of the lies that Harry and Meghan told. Harry has now said that he welcomes the Charity Commission investigation as it will unveil the truth. Well, again, I asked why didn't Harry, Prince Sisu and the Board of Trustees ask for an investigation themselves if Dr. Sophie was abusing her position and spending to the point of potential financial ruin for the organisation. If they have all of this evidence that can prove that they were ousting her because she was terrible at her job, why did they quit and choose not to fight? Which surely, if they had correspondence correlating to all of their claims, it would have been fairly easy to do. So my final thoughts on this is, at this stage, from everything that I've seen, from reading the various insults that have been coming out towards Dr. Chandauka, and you read and watch her actual statement, she's defended herself, defended the organisation. She's generally been polite about Harry. The stuff that they have been throwing at Dr. Chandauka is offensive, is misogynistic, and it is very personal. She is apparently a jealous and poisonous woman, a dictator who is using the race card just to punish Harry. The hypocrisy is not lost on me. It only makes it look more obvious that they are trying to vilify her, a character assassination for the court of public opinion, a tactic that we know that Harry has used on a number of occasions. So to me, it's not looking great for Harry. And the fact is that she is a lawyer, and I do believe that she would not throw such serious allegations against the trustees, against the board, and of course Prince Harry without having evidence to back it up. She has got a court case. She's the one that asked for the charity investigation. At this stage, it's not looking very good for the Sussex PR machine. And I can understand that Meghan is so desperately trying to get attention on as ever at the moment. And I can imagine that Harry is in dire straits at home, because she is going to be blaming him for every single failure that as ever is going to get because of the timing of this. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we hear about Harry staying in hotel rooms anytime soon. So guys, tell me your thoughts on this. It's very messy. It's turned rather nasty. What do you think? Who do you think is telling the truth here? Give me your thoughts and I will speak to you soon. Take care for now. Bye.